sugar or glucose. All right. Now that glucose leaves the liver and is headed for the cells in our body. It is headed for the cells because it is in the cells that energy is manufactured. So in the case of diabetes, the glucose is headed for the cells to get into the cells to make energy. But in order for it to get into the cell, it requires insulin. Insulin is like the escort for the sugar into the cell. So without the escort, glucose is not able to get into the cell. And if glucose is not able to get into the cell, it means that the cell is not able to produce energy. And so if the cell is not able to produce energy, what will happen to the person? They feel tired, all right, because no energy is being produced. Then hunger. Again, the same principle applies. Because the cell is not able to produce any energy, because it is depending on glucose for energy, the cell starts to appeal to the brain for sugar. And that is why the person with high blood sugar will crave for not only food, but for sweet things, because the brain is interpreting the messages from the cell that the cell needs sugar. And so the person with high blood sugar will crave sweet things. And if you have to interact with any of them, any person with diabetes who is not managing well, you find that they always want to eat something sweet. And again, their people around them will want to be chastising them for wanting these sweet things. But that is a real crave that they have for sweet things, because the brain is saying to them, we need some sugar in here urgently. But really and truly, it's not that the body needs sugar, it's that the sugar needs to get into the cell. That's the problem. Some other symptoms include blurred vision. Now, blurred vision occurs because the excess sugar in the blood, it doesn't stay in one place. As long as the blood is moving, it's moving around the blood is moving with the excess sugar. Now, these sugar, the molecules are too large to pass through some very small blood vessels, like those in the eye. And once it gets there, it gets stuck, right, at the mouth of the very small blood vessels. And so everything beyond that point loses all the oxygen and the nutrients that it needs to function effectively. And so the person with high blood sugar will be encountering blurred vision. The same thing is occurring here with the tingling and burning in the feet. All right. Again, in our extremities, we have very small blood vessels, because as the blood vessels reach to the areas where the cells are, the size of the blood vessels is reduced because the cells are very small. And so again, we have the blood sugar, the sugar in the blood blocking and preventing the flow of blood through those tiny blood vessels. And so as the cell, everything beyond there is starved of oxygen and the nutrients that it needs, the nerve endings at that point starts to get edgy, and the person starts to feel these tingling sensation in the feet. And then if that continues to persist, the area would just become numb, because the nerve endings would die. All right. And so this person can walk and injure their foot and don't even know that they injured their foot, because there's no feeling in the foot. Loss of weight. No, the body uses carbohydrates as the main source of energy. But in the absence of carbohydrates, in the case of the person with diabetes, where the body is not able to use carbohydrate, the body uses proteins and fat. All right. So the person with high blood sugar will lose weight, but not losing the weight the way we should lose it, because it's using the proteins, the muscles that we need for in order to carry out our activities. The muscle is what it's using, is being used now for energy. And wounds that will not heal. Again, the same principle applies. There's not enough blood going to the area that in order for the wound to heal. And so there is the wound healing is either very slow or it's not no healing at all for it. So these are some of the symptoms that will present, signs and symptoms that will present for a person who have high blood sugar. Now, continuous high or poor management of diabetes will lead to complications. All right, and the complications can be classified into two different subsets. They're the acute complications, meaning those are the complications that occur like more on a short-term basis. All right, so you not you're not managing your blood sugar well in like for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, one of these acute complications can occur. So some can occur even in a day if you don't manage them well. Acute, all right? Those are the ones that come on suddenly. And then there's the chronic complications that are slow. They take years to really manifest itself. All right. So let's look at some of them. So these complications can would occur in these areas of our body, in our heart, right? So the person, a lot of people recognize they have diabetes only after suffering a heart attack. All right. So they okay all the time. They may even be checking the blood during the checkups, and everything is okay. And then all of a sudden, just like that, out of the blue, they get a heart attack. They go to the hospital. The doctor check the blood sugar and would say to them, "Do you know you have diabetes?" They're like, "No, I never had diabetes." But yes, right, that's when it is diagnosed. So that is one of the long-term complications of diabetes. Kidney disease. Now, the person with diabetes who is not managed properly, remember I talked earlier about the kidney working overtime to get rid of the excess sugar. So the blood sugar is continuously high. The kidney takes on the job of trying to get rid of this excess blood sugar. But guess what? The more the kidney tries to get rid of the excess blood sugar, the more we put more sugar in the body. And so after years, the kidney starts to get tired, and the cells in the kidney starts to break down. The beautiful thing about the kidney is that the kidney will work efficiently up to until approximately 80% of that kidney function is lost. All right, so the kidney could be working at half of its function and still functioning effectively. All right, until 80% of the kidney is destroyed, that is when you start seeing signs and symptoms of kidney failure. And you know, so people may think that everything is okay because they have no problem with passing urine and things like that. And so the person may think that everything is okay. All right. The brain is affected. All right. Stroke, again, poor poor blood supply to the brain can lead to stroke, and so the person would end up with a stroke. We talk about the eyes and the blurred vision, and those blurred vision, if it continues for a while, they end up with blindness, retinopathy. All right. And then we also talked about extremities, where the blood supply to the extremities are poor, and, and because of that, the foot become numb. They walk and they march into their feet and don't know. All right. When I was doing my diabetes training, I was told of the instructor was giving us the example of a patient who who came to the hospital, his foot swelling, and you want to know why the foot is swelling. That's all. You don't know why the foot is swelling. The doctor decided to do an examination of the foot. And on examination, the doctor was able to find a 4-inch nail in this man's foot. And he's walking around happy and gay and don't even know anything about it. All right, so that can occur, and eventually, because that foot is basically dead, you can have amputations occurring as a result of that. So those are some of the long-term complications, or the chronic complications. The acute complications include high blood sugar. So the blood sugar can get so high that it causes you to go into a coma, all right, and have to be rushed to the hospital, all right? And so the high blood sugar can be as a result of too much sugar in the blood or too little insulin available. There's also low blood sugar. All right, low blood sugar. There's either too little sugar, right? The person cannot eat, but they would still use the medication, whether it's insulin or one of those medications that helps to force the pancreas to produce insulin. So if there's not enough food in the body at that time, the blood sugar can go very low. And again, this is something that we can talk at length on. But the thing is, too little sugar in the body, the medication is there working on whatever sugar is there, because that's the role of the medication, to work on sugar in the body, to bring the sugar down. So even if there's no sugar there, it will work on whatever sugar is there. And so the blood sugar goes very low. All right. That's another acute complication. And then there's a condition known as ketoacidosis. Ketoacidosis, this occurs mostly in persons who have type 1 diabetes, where their blood sugar gets so high that, as I mentioned before, the body would start to use, because there's no sugar for the body to use for energy, it starts to use proteins and fat. Now, the use of proteins and fat for energy leads to a byproduct called ketones. And ketones will become poisonous to the body. So the person with ketoacidosis, the blood sugar is very high, and some other electrolytes are very high in the body. And this person, this case, this situation here becomes an emergency, in that if the person does not get medical attention in hours, they can just die, just like that. All right. So there's another similar one that occurs mostly in persons with type 2 diabetes, called the hypoglycemic hypoosmolar syndrome, HHS. the thing with that one is everything like ketoacidosis, however, without the ketones. All right. So again, the person's blood sugar is very high and they can get into a coma. All right. And they if there it becomes an emergency, that if they are not treated in the emergency department in hours, they can die. All right. So that is the acute um the acute, those are the acute complications. All right. Um, so as I was mentioning, some chronic complications would be amputations, as I was explaining, anxiety. All right. The person with diabetes that is not being managed, it can get them frustrated, it can get them depressed. All right. And so anxiety is one of the related complications of diabetes. And the more anxious they become, that alone can cause the blood sugar to go up. All right. So again, a lot of times when people go to the hospital, they will check the blood sugar, and when they check it, it's high. But a lot of time, all that the health institution is thinking is that the person is eating too much. All right. So all they do is increase the medication. Um, but a lot there's no focus on looking at other things other than the blood sugar, other than food that can cause the blood sugar to be high, like anxiety. All right. Cancer is very prevalent among people who have diabetes. And again, cancer brings on stress to the body. And once the body is stressed, it will um, produce some hormones called cortisol, and cortisol raises the blood sugar. Eye damage, we talk about the eye damage that occurs as a result of the small blood vessels not being able to get the oxygen and nutrients it needs. We also talked about the heart disease, right, that occur. All right, again, it's the same thing occurring where the small, as the blood vessels that is supplying the heart muscle of itself nears the heart, those blood vessels become smaller, and those blood vessels can become occluded, can become blocked as a result of the excess sugar. And once there is that blockage, the person develops a heart attack and they can die, or if they reach the hospital in time, well, depending on which of the blood vessels is affected, they may be able to be revived. But again, that is one of the complications. Infection, all right? Again, because of lack of energy, the body is not able to function as it should. So the immune system acts slow and sluggish. So when they get anything that they pick up, any infection that they pick up, the body is not able to respond to it because it's weak. No energy is being produced, and so the body is weak and unable to respond as quickly as it should. All right. Again, because the blood vessels are blocked. All right. So blood flow is not as free as it should. And so infection is weakened. We talk about kidney disease. All right. And one of the ways we recognize kidney disease is when we do a urine test, we find sugar and protein in the urine, especially protein. Once we find that in the urine, those are one of the first signs of kidney disease. And then there's nerve damage associated with age. Again, this nerve damage is because of the lack of supply of blood to the area. The nerve is not getting the nutrients and oxygen it needs. And so it starts agitate and eventually would die. Sexual dysfunction is another chronic complication of diabetes. Men will have erectile dysfunction. Women will have decreased libido. Again, because it's blood that supplies your sexual organs. And again, if the blood flow is not as free as it should be, you will have that occurring. By the way, research has shown that in men who have erectile dysfunction, that is one of the first signs of an impending heart attack. All right, most men that develop erectile dysfunction, look out the next 6 months to a year, that man can come down with a heart attack. So that is one of the first signs of impending heart attack. Stomach problems, again, it's the nerves that has to signal to you that you're hungry. All right. And so again, you find a lot of people with diabetes will say, I don't feel hungry. I don't feel to eat. Because why that is happening? Because the blood supply that will give the nerves the signal for you to feel hungry is not occurring. And so the person will say, will not eat because they don't feel like eating. And again, of course, that will complicate blood sugar even more. All right. They feel nauseated as well. And so these are things that, all right, I see a question there. I will address that shortly. All right. Um, the stomach problems, they occur as a result of as I said, of the poor blood supply. All right. Depression is another chronic complication. Again, this is another one of those chronic complications that's overlooked by the health system. All right. When somebody has diabetes and have to be dealing with all these things, especially if all that they try to do does not work, they can become anxious, they can become depressed. And so they become depressed, and that alone, depression alone, can cause the blood sugar to go high. Along with all that, everything else that is happening. I said blood pressure, blood sugar to go high. All right. Along with all that is happening, what they might be eating and not exercising, all of these come together would lead to poor management of the blood sugar, of the diabetes. All right. Thyroid problems. Now, the thyroid is the organ in the body that is responsible for managing what we call them, how fast, how the body is able to burn food, right? The energy from food. If the thyroid is not functioning well, and of course it can go both ways. If thyroid is not functioning well, it can lead to diabetes. And if the person have diabetes, it can affect the thyroid and cause it to malfunction as well. So so the person with diabetes can end up with what's called low thyroid function, and that can lead to fatigue, weight gain, and these are the things that contribute to high blood sugar. So, having outlined all of those about complication of diabetes, I want to introduce to you a system or a program that is not well used, even though it has shown great benefit in the management of diabetes. That is diabetes self-management, education, and support. So the main goal of diabetes self-management, education, and support is to empower individuals with diabetes to effectively manage their diabetes. All right. So one of the things that I found that the healthcare system all over the world, all everywhere that I have looked, is the focus is on the doctor. Whatever the doctor say, that is what you do. So you just go to clinic, listen to what the doctor say, you go home and try to do it. The problem with that is that the doctor, the person with diabetes may see the doctor at most twice a year. Now, between those periods of time, they have all kinds of things happening to them. And they have to be making decisions based on what is happening to them. But guess what? They don't know what to do, so they just do whatever they think they should do. Diabetes self-management, education, and support focuses on putting the power in the person with diabetes. So they make the decisions about what is done for them. The healthcare system provide the general counsel or the guide, but the person is in control of their management. So the focus is on empowering them through dietary changes, teaching them about dietary changes, about physical activity, medication adherence, and all of these things that I'm mentioning here. Yes, it's the same thing the doctor will say to them, but then when they are empowered with what dietary changes and why dietary changes, they can now make a decision based on what they have available to them. When the doctor says to them, stop eat rice and stop eat this and stop eat that, the problem is that that might be the only thing that they have. But if they are, the same thing the doctor saying that they shouldn't eat, that is all that they have. But if they are empowered with the skills, they would know how to use whatever they have to manage the blood sugar. All right, so dietary changes, physical activity, medication adherence. Again, when the patient, the person with diabetes, understands how the medication works and how it functions in relation to their food, they are better able to use the medication for their benefit. Regular monitoring. They understand how to monitor, how often to monitor. They understand how to, we talk about problem solving, all right? And they develop problem solving skills. They learn how to cope with different situations, and they learn how to reduce risk associated with diabetes. All right, I see Kenny mentioning key findings. 37 million in America. Yes, 37.3 million people, right? And 1 in 10. Yes, of course. All right. About 1 in 5 people don't know they have diabetes. All right. So as I was saying earlier, that people may only recognize they have diabetes when they end up in the hospital. All right. But they may be having it 5-10 years already and don't even know that they have diabetes. All right. And so diabetes self-management education is focusing on people who already have diabetes. There's also diabetes prevention, which is another presentation. But diabetes self-management education is focusing on helping the person who have diabetes already to manage it. It puts the power within those persons who have diabetes. So as I mentioned, diabetes self-management education is underutilized despite the recognized benefits. Many studies and reports show that a relatively small percentage of individuals with diabetes have participated in these programs. All right. The reason for it being underutilized can be multifaceted, ranging from lack of awareness or to accessibility issues. All right. So the research that I have, yes, yeah, education is the key. Self-education, right? Self-management education is most important. Yes. And so the research in the US shows that less than 7% of the people with diabetes have even been introduced to diabetes self-management education. So, so although this has shown great benefit for the person with diabetes, it is underutilized. Some barriers to, to diabetes self-management education include lack of referral, right? As I was saying, even the healthcare system does not see it as that important. Because again, I mean, in most cases, it seems as if the the health system seem to want to hold on to the power that they have. You know, they're afraid to release that power over to the person who have the diabetes, who have to really make those decisions every day, right? Financial constraints is another barrier. All right. These things cost, but I always say they would find the money when the kidneys fail and they have to go on dialysis. They find the money when they have amputations and they have to be paying transportation everywhere they got to go because they can't walk to go anywhere. All right. Or they pay the money to buy the prosthesis. All right. So they're looking at the money that they will pay for diabetes self-management education to prevent these complications. And eventually they're gonna have to spend way more. All right. I remember when I was working in Trinidad, I was working in the emergency department there. And that is when I realized that there was an injection that is used for persons who have a heart attack. Um, I don't remember the name of the injection right now, but the cost of that injection is 2,000 US dollars for one injection alone. You know, um, and again, that is a 50-50. It it's a 50. It might work or it might not work. All right, and that's only for that injection, the follow-up treatment. You know, um, the cost of managing diabetes that is not well managed is way more than what you would spend for diabetes self-management. All right, we talk about transportation. They end up with transportation. They have transportation issues, time constraints, right? They feel that they don't have the time to do all of this here. All right. Culture is another big thing. All right. Our language barrier that affect. All right. Yes, 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. All right. So culture and language barrier, lack of understanding about the benefits of the program. These are some of the barriers that prevent people from actually accessing diabetes self-management. All right. Some information on utilization. Um, as I was mentioning before, the focus is not on diabetes self-management. The focus is on whatever power the doctor have. All right. And so, as I was saying, in the US, approximately is less than 7% of persons with diabetes actually get referred or even benefit from diabetes self-management education. Um, so the ideal client for diabetes self-management, um, someone who can derive significant benefit from education and support offered. All right, so diabetes self-management is not for everyone. But every person with diabetes can potentially benefit. The ideal person would possess certain characteristics or is at a specific situation that may maximize the benefit of the program. So um, again, remember, it's about putting the power within the hands of the person who have the diabetes. So it calls for some responsibility on their part. So these are some of the characteristics that would be the person um, of the person who would benefit. So people who are newly diagnosed, right? Those recently diagnosed with diabetes often have a lot of questions and they have a steep learning curve. DSME can provide that foundational knowledge that they need and coping strategies to deal with this new diagnosis that they may have. The person with diabetes who will benefit from DSME must be willing to learn. They must be willing to unlearn some of the things that they are accustomed to and learn new things. All right? They must be open-minded and receptive to new information. If you're a person that believes that whatever you say goes, diabetes self-management will not work for you. Experiencing persons experiencing complications. We just looked at some complications, right? A lot of times we find that it's only when people develop complications, then they start to think about seriously about managing their blood sugar. And maybe that might be the opportune time to introduce diabetes self-management to them. Um, then another group would be persons undergoing changes in treatment. So if persons' treatment regime has changed, such as they might be moving from oral medication to insulin, or they might move into a new class of medication. This is another opportunity for diabetes self-management education. Um, Diabetes self-management education will only benefit people who are motivated. They must have that motivation within them. Because again, I want to reiterate that this is where they have the control. And if they are not motivated to help themselves, nobody can help them. All right, so they must be motivated. Um, must be ready to set goals. They want to set they must be willing to set goals for themselves so that as they work towards their goal and they achieve those goals, they feel further motivated to continue. Then there are people who might be seeking support. They feel isolated or overwhelmed and they're really looking for somewhere that they can turn to for support. And diabetes self-management education is an ideal option for them. Persons experiencing transitions. Um, then there are life transitions like moving from pediatric or children clinic to adult clinic. That is a whole change in paradigm for the person with diabetes. They may need some diabetes self-management education. Persons who get diabetes during pregnancy. Persons may have diabetes and have to start college. They may get married. All right. These are transitions in life that can affect diabetes management. Entering into retirement. All right. These are things that can affect diabetes management. And again, diabetes self-management education can be of help to them. People who want accountability, there are some people that want to do the thing, but they don't have that willpower within themselves, but they will do it if they have somebody that is going to be checking up on them and be looking, expecting them to do the thing. And so again, diabetes self-management is the option for this kind of person. The person who might be facing barrier, like dietary challenges. They are accustomed to eating one way, and then now you have to change up how you eat. They want to do it, but it's so difficult for them to do. And so again, diabetes self-management, they may have emotional problems. All right, diabetes distress. All right, cultural considerations. Their culture is one where they would do certain things. All right, there's certain festivals, there's certain rituals and rites associated with their culture. And again, diabetes self-management education will help them to work around um, even these kind of things. And then um, if the person with diabetes is open to technology, it goes a long way because again, our world is becoming a technology world, and so there are a lot of the technology makes life easier for the person with diabetes who is open to technology. All right. And so being comfortable and open to using technology would be a bonus for the person who have diabetes with diabetes self-management education. So in conclusion, it's crucial to understand that even if someone doesn't fit the ideal profile for diabetes self-management education, they can still benefit significantly. All right. Everyone's journey with diabetes is unique. All right. It's not a one size fits all. So that is why the focus, because the focus is on the individual and who that individual is. So diabetes self-management programs aim to provide personalized, relevant education and support to all participants. The key is to approach the program with an open mind and a willingness to engage actively. All right, so that's the end of my presentation, and I will now take your questions. All right, let me. Stop sharing. All right, so let's look at there's, I think I saw one question. How do we prevent erectile dysfunction in order to prevent heart attack? No, erectile dysfunction can be due to quite a number of things, but diabetes is one of those things. So I can respond from the point of diabetes. And I would say managing your diabetes will um, prevent erectile dysfunction from a diabetes perspective. But generally speaking, most of the things that will lead to diabetes, well, to erectile dysfunction, chronic conditions in general, is lifestyle related. And so once you understand diabetes management and you are educated and skilled in management of diabetes and you're following what you know as a result of that, your likelihood of developing erectile dysfunction is way less. All right. So to answer the question is that if we learn diabetes self-management education, if you enlist in a diabetes self-management program, understand how to prevent how to manage diabetes, you can prevent erectile dysfunction and of course will lead to preventing heart attack. All right.
Okay, Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, man is up. So I find that if I drink like a couple of bottle of water,
Uh-huh.
I go to I go to the bathroom a lot, to urinate.
Uh,
But looking at some early signs that you put up there,
uh,
tiredness, thirsty. I don't experience those stuff.
right.
I don't
Uh-huh.
experience. So I want to know if, because one of my friends told me it could be a sign of diabetes.
Uh,
So I don't experience. I have a lot of energy. I go walk, I play tennis, I go to the gym. So I don't,
Okay.
and I
All
don't get
right.
thirsty. I don't get thirsty. I gotta be careful because I don't usually get thirsty. So I
Uh-huh.
gotta keep up with my water intake. But one thing is, especially in the evening, if I drink water, man, I be getting up five times a night, at 5 times
Okay.
a night. So
Okay. When last did you have a medical checkup?
I did. Matter of fact, I did, and they gave me they gave me some medication to take because they're thinking that this is I think it's tamsulosin capsule, but it mostly for I guess to help me. It's about prostate or something like that. They
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. The prostate can cause you to be running to the bathroom regularly. But then I'm talking about the general checkup. Do your liver function, your kidney functions,
yeah,
um,
yeah, I got
your
yeah, I have I mean, I took my regular checkup every year.
okay.
I have my comprehensive
And
metabolism panel that they
uh
gave me a copy of it. You
okay,
know,
and everything is within normal ranges.
yeah, that's what they it shows. You know,
All right. So added to that, so as I mentioned, you may do all those things and everything is okay, but you want to look at what your risk factors are. All right. So first of all, there are some risk factors that all of us have are at risk for. One is your age. So from the time you reach 40, you become at risk for diabetes. All right, 40 and over. All right. Um, ethnic, um, right? If we we the Africans and some other ethnic groups are at risk for developing diabetes. All right. And so even in the absence of any sign or symptom or of any blood results showing diabetes, I always encourage all people in the Caribbean to operate as if you have diabetes. So you would do the things that you would do if you actually have diabetes. So exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, all right? Your diet, watching at your diet, looking at you know, of course, we will need to talk about the specifics about diet, but you need to be looking at your diet. And dealing with whatever stressors, right? We all have stress, and it's about understanding how to cope with the stress. And so, because we are all at risk, I don't have diabetes, but I am at risk for diabetes because apart from being over 40, uh, apart from being over 40 and the fact that I fall in ethnic group, I have close relatives with diabetes. My mother had diabetes, died from complications of diabetes. Her siblings have diabetes, and um, so I am at risk. And so right now I have no sign of diabetes, but I operate just as if I have diabetes.
so I eat a lot of fruits in the morning, and ripe banana is one of them. And all my fruits them is not
Uh,
basically sweet, berries and stuff like that. But the first thing I usually do is have a bottle of water, and then I go walk, you know.
uh,
But somebody told me slow down on the ripe banana, you know. I mean,
um, that would be if you have diabetes. If you have
Okay.
diabetes, the body won't be able to manage it. But then again, it's about monitoring what you put into the system, all right, and ensuring that whatever you put in is equal to what you put out in terms of exercise and activity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. All right. So there's a question here. Oh, go ahead. Who is this? Zoom music. I don't remember
Wilbur.
your name.
Wilbur.
Wilbur. Yeah. Well,
Genius. The genius, man.
No,
yeah.
no, Will Pert with a P.
Wilport. Wilport. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Pfizer scientists
Uh,
know or knew long ago that the onset of erectile dysfunction would be a sign of impending diabetes or cardiovascular issues.
yeah.
But instead of trying to educate men about their lifestyles and their health, they got this magic blue pill.
Well,
where they,
that is the thing.
where they could make billions out of it instead of simply educating people like you're doing right now.
But the thing is, well, not only that, is that we have become so brainwashed into believing whatever they say that when a man like me come and say to you, you know, pay me some money and we're going to have some sessions on education to prevent you from developing these things. You cost me and send me away. All right, but you go and buy the pill from these people that making billions, and you're gonna end up worse off than you were before. All right, so that is the situation as it is. That's the situation as it is.
Because you know the erectile this or this I wouldn't say a cure, but this assist for erectile dysfunction is basically what you call to enlarge the arteries or the veins.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah,
the problem still exists.
and many people don't know that the sildenafil is prescribed for babies and animals. The vets use it. Vets use it a lot, and babies get it because it is just basically a dilator.
Right. That's why it is. That's why it does.
But because erectile dysfunction is an emotional subject.
Yeah.
That is why it is marketed to men.
Yep. But not with just simple education will help them to not have to use that. Depending on how far gone it is.
Yeah, depending on.
Yeah. All right, let's see some questions here. Do you have any recommendations for those men who may be in denial of their diabetes, non-compliant with the medication, no follow-up? No, again, I have had a number of times to interact with people, not only men, who are non-compliant and in denial and all those things. And well, they have been labeled as that. I always say that they have been labeled as that. most of the time, I have found, most of the time in my experiences, that when I actually sit down and have a talk with that person, they come away, they leave me with a better understanding, with a better motivation to do what they need to do. A lot of times it calls for just having a conversation with them, listening to them. The health system don't listen to you, you know. They just check your blood sugar, it's high, and they just hammer the medication in you. All right. So they don't have time to listen. A lot of times, these people who we claim as being in denial and non-compliant, they want somebody to listen to them. All right. And so most of the time, I won't say all of the time, most of the time, having a conversation is what will help these kind of works. All right. Another question here. One of the reasons why there's such high percentage of those who don't know they have diabetes is we have men who don't visit their primary. Yes, of course, right? What can we do to encourage men to do their annual checkups? Sessions like these is what we can use to encourage them. So whenever we have programs like this, like on Tuesday, I have a session that will be focusing on diabetes self-management, and the team is focusing on other things other than sugar that will affect, that can cause the blood sugar to be high. All right. A lot of times people think that only eating a lot of food causes the blood sugar to be high, but there are quite a number of other things. We're going to be looking at that on Tuesday. So we want to invite men to sessions like that. A lot of time they don't go to the hospital for their checkups because they don't know. And so sessions like these will be one of those. All right, one other question here. What is the HbA1c and what does it, how does it relate with diabetes? So the hemoglobin A1c is one of the tests that is done to diagnose or to manage or to monitor diabetes. All right. What it measures is the amount of sugar that is on the red blood cell. You know, the red blood cell lives for about 4 months, 3 to 4 months. And so it measures the amount of sugar because the red blood cell lives for that period of time. It can give an indication. That measurement can give you an indication of how well the blood sugar is managed over that period of time that red blood cell is in the body. So the HbA1c measures the blood sugar measurement over 3 months period, average 3 months period. All right. So based on what percentage, it gives you the result in a percentage. Based on the percentage of sugar, that is how we interpret how well the blood sugar is managed. So we want, if you don't have diabetes, all right, we want that to be less than 5.7%. If it's from between 5.7 and 6.4%, the person has pre-diabetes. If it's 6.5 and above, it's diabetes. All right. So that is, yes, Wilbert, you have another.
Yeah. One more question there. Now, I've heard of diabetes reversal programs.
Oh.
Okay. Now, what I also heard is that by the time you realize that you have diabetes, that the pancreas is basically shot already. So if the pancreas is basically shot, by the time you realize you have diabetes, how do you reverse diabetes?
All right. The second point is not exactly so. Now for the person who have type 1 diabetes, that might be the case. All right. And most of the case, well, of course, there's new research coming out now in relation to type 1 diabetes. But up until now, there is no way for reversing type 1 diabetes. But by the way, type 1 diabetes only make up about 5% of the population of people with diabetes. So type 2 diabetes will make up the majority, 90 to 95% of the population is type 2 diabetes. And the state of the pancreas at diagnosis of diabetes is dependent on how long the person had diabetes. Now remember, I said that you can have diabetes for years and don't even know it. All right. But once diabetes is diagnosed early enough, there is still chance for the pancreas might still have some function. All right. With type 2 diabetes, the problem is not with production of insulin. It's usually with the cells being able to receive that insulin, all right, call it insulin resistant. So the cells become resistant to the insulin. So most of the time, it's not a pancreas problem, but a resistance to insulin problem. So in that case, we can work with that person and institute certain lifestyle and other measures and help that person to go into what we call remission, meaning remission would mean they are able to manage the diabetes without medication. All right. Remission does not mean that you can go back and eat how much cake and ice cream that you want. Remission in this case would be where they're managing diabetes without medication, lifestyle, and diet. That's it. Any other question?
Okay. So before, when you're gonna pay a lot of money to go to Uchipines to reverse diabetes, they're basically taking your money from you because you're not, they're not reversing the diabetes, they're just helping you to manage it.
Well, the thing is, we got to define reversing diabetes. All right. And what the definition that I give is what the American Diabetes Association give as remission or reversing. All right. And that is what Uchipines will do. Uchipines will teach you the skills, teach you the skills in terms of exercise, in terms of diet, rest, and all those things that you need to learn in order to manage diabetes with lifestyle and diet. And so once you follow those things that you have learned, in most of the cases, you do not need medication, all right, to manage. You manage well. So it's about making a about turn in terms of how you live your life. All right. So you make a about turn in terms of your lifestyle. And so you just live with this in this new lifestyle and you live quite healthily.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I like what you said, that it's not a reversal as such, but rather it's a management to the point where you don't need medication. That's what I like.
Yeah. That is why whenever whenever this topic comes up about reversal, I always would clarify that. I always would clarify that with the person who asks the question, because it's not a case where it won't be a case where diabetes is no more. It's just that you have been about turning your lifestyle that diabetes don't affect you anymore because of the lifestyle you're living. All right, so I see a question if weight loss can reverse diabetes. Weight loss is one of the focus for diabetes remission. So you focus on weight loss among other things to manage and bring about the remission that we're aiming for. Right? Any other question?
Yeah, sorry, me again.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Which is more dangerous for diabetes? Fat in your diet or carbohydrates in your diet?
All right. Now, I'll answer it this way. When we have excess carbohydrates in our body, what the body does is that it puts some in storage. All right? Store it in the liver and the muscle. Some of that storage is in the form of glycogen, which is the storage form of of the sugar glucose. But when the stores for glycogen is over, is filled, the body stores it as fat. So a lot of times the fat that the person with diabetes have could be as a result of the carbohydrates, excess carbohydrates. So really and truly, but so that being said, we have fat being produced from the carbohydrates, but then if you continue to eat a lot of fatty diet, what are you doing there? You're contributing more to the fat storage in the body. So diabetes of itself, or the lifestyle that can lead to diabetes of itself, will develop fat even if you don't eat a lot of fat. All right. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. You know, I noticed that, okay, when I go back to the island, where my diet is traditionally more carbohydrate and less fat,
When
I
you go back
realized
to where?
to the island,
Okay.
yeah, where my diet is traditionally more carbohydrate, less fat. I realized that I manage my diabetes better.
Okay.
With a lower ingestion of fat.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Because again, we're saying that when we use a lot of fat, we're complicating things even more, because whatever carbohydrates put, and then eating fat to put more, of course, it's gonna cause more problems. Yeah. A question in the chat. How does or can diabetes affect sexual performance? How does it do so? All right. Yes, we did mention before that the excess sugar in the blood, that when the blood is loaded with sugar, this sugar is moving around the body with the blood as it moves around. As the blood makes attempt to move through the very small blood vessels, we find that the sugar is too large to enter those small blood vessels. So it eventually gets stuck at the entrance of those very small blood vessels. And as a result, it starts to prevent blood flow and anything beyond that point. All right, so when that happens in the sexual organs, all right, we have less blood flow to those sexual organs. And so we end up with dysfunction, right? In the male, it will be erectile dysfunction. In the female, it will be decreased libido.
All right. Since nobody else wants to go, I want to go again.
All right.
Let's start at the beginning. Okay. What is it that could cause the initial compromise in the function of the pancreas that could cause an onset of diabetes?
All right. Scientists have not come up with the exact cause. All right. They are, however, they've however been able to associate certain things with the development of diabetes. And so that is why we really can't say that X or Y cause diabetes. All right. But what the research has shown is that persons who have a certain kind of lifestyle, persons who are associated with a certain kind of genes, are those ones that are more likely to develop diabetes. So when we examine the risk factors for diabetes, like being over 40, like having a close relative with diabetes, like people who are obese or overweight. Those are the things that put people at risk. All right, right? Yeah, diabetes hereditary. Those are people. Well, there's a question here about if diabetes is hereditary. Heredity is only between 10 to 15% a factor in in terms of contribution to the development of diabetes. So I was saying that these risk factors are what the research has shown that most of the people with these risk factors will eventually develop diabetes. The thing is, there are some people with all of these risk factors. There are a lot of people overweight, obese, but no diabetes, right? There are a lot of people 90, 95, and no diabetes. A lot of the risk factors that is mentioned, people may have it, but no diabetes. So that is why it's difficult to really pinpoint a specific thing, but what we can look at is risk factors. All right. So I see another question. What kinds of sugar are bad? No sugar is bad. No sugar is bad. There are some foods that would like refined sugars, all right? Foods that are refined, because they are refined, they enter the bloodstream at a faster pace. I always try to use the analogy. Let's say you're going to wash your car. All right, you're going to wash your car. You have one bucket of water, but you have two options. You can take that bucket of water and just throw it on the car and wipe. All right? The car would get clean. The other option you have, you can take a rag, dip that rag in the bucket of water, and clean the car. Dip and clean. which one will give the car a better clean? Of course, using the one with the rag. Now, using refined sugars, all right, like table sugar, um, juices, anything that is refined, is like throwing the water on the car. So the sugar gets into the body at a faster pace, and so the body have a harder time managing that sugar. However, if we use the complex sugars, all right, the whole grains, the fruits, the whole grains and fruits, and the non-starchy vegetables, those are the ones that would be like using the rag. Because of the fiber in those, the fiber would slow down the rate at which the sugar enters the bloodstream. And so, because it is going in at a slower pace, the body is able to manage it uh, more easily. And so, it's not the sugar that is bad or good. It's about how we using that sugar. All right. I hope that answers the question. Because the refined sugar would be good for like situations where the blood sugar gets too low. You don't want anything getting into the body fast, slow at that time. You want the sugar to get there quickly. So the refined sugar would be the better thing to use at that time. All right. And then the refined sugar, for example, white bread or using white flour, um, that would be considered refined sugar, refined sources of sugar. But then what else you eating that with? If you're eating that with some vegetables or lettuce and things like that, that will provide the fiber. Again, you get the same kind of effect as if you would be using whole grain. So again, I don't like to use bad or good sugar. It's about how you really use that sugar. So that is why when it comes to things like culture, um, it's about understanding. That is why diabetes self-management education does not say to the client what they should or should not do. It's about listening to the client, listening to their custom, and helping them to understand how they can use what they are accustomed to doing to manage the diabetes. Right.
So, Doc,
Yeah.
my father had diabetes.
Uh,
What is my risk of me having diabetes? Even though I did not live with him, I did not have the similar diet to what he had, um, and the same and similar exposures that he may have had. What are the likely chances of me developing diabetes?
all right. So what the guidelines say is that that alone provide between 10 to 15% chance of you developing diabetes. So you have a whole 85%. If that is all that there is in terms of your risk factor, all right, your chance of developing diabetes is between 10 to 15%.
Okay. So, because based on what you're saying, and tell me if I'm correct in my assessment.
Uh,
I'm learning from you that diabetes is predominantly a lifestyle disease.
Yes, it
Is that a
is. It
correct
is.
assessment?
Yes, yes. It is predominantly a lifestyle disease, right? Because while there are some non-modifiable factors, all right, like age and genetics, and you know, the the majority of it is lifestyle.
Hmm. So once I'm doing those preventative actions, exercise, my diet, water, rest, my likelihood of developing diabetes, although it may be in my genes, is
Yeah,
significantly reduced.
significantly reduced. Significantly
Okay,
reduced.
okay.
Yeah, you got it right there.
And smoking also contributes to diabetes, right?
No, but it complicates the effects because remember we talked about diabetes causing blood vessel problems, and smoking
Constriction.
also will cause blood vessel problems. So
Okay.
it complicate it. It helps the diabetes to damage the body.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wilbert. You can go ahead. All other gentlemen don't have a problem with diabetes.
Why are you picking on me? Do I have to look?
The man said, stop smoking that pipe, man.
Through your questions, Wilbert, we're learning.
Yeah. Okay, Doc. What is the racial distribution like for that genetic component for diabetes? I have my daughters, and I don't want them to be perpetuating diabetes in their generation. So how can I guide them to the right genetic
that can be kind of difficult. But as I said, those things make up a very small percentage of your risk for diabetes. So I would prefer to focus on lifestyle more than anything else. All right. So focusing on lifestyle will go a far away, much farther away than looking at genetics. Because if they try to marry into genetics that are not at risk, but the lifestyle does not match up, they end up, you know, defeating the purpose
at the same place?
of
Yeah,
yeah.
because I
So
remember.
sorry, Wilbert. So Dr. Crooker, are you? Is the research finding that? And I'm going to be very crude in my question. Is it a black man disease, diabetes?
Well, black people are one of those that are at risk. All right, I think the Hispanics, non his. I don't have the Indians as well. Well, black people. I think they call Indians and Negroes as black people as well. So black people are those that are more at risk. Um, why so? I don't have the details on that. Well, it could be related to like lifestyle, culture, and things like that. Could be.
So our ackee and saltfish and our fried dumplings and our white flour based
Right.
meals,
That is
white
what we. That is
bread,
what we. Yeah, right. That is what we. That's what we do.
our patties.
Right.
Renta yam, man. Renta yam, St. Vincent yam, yellow yam, apple yam. Name it. Go ahead.
But
Breadfruit.
then if we eat that, Paul, then we're running the risk of the carbohydrates. So aren't we, Doctor?
No, well, no, it's not about what we eat. It's about how much we eat and how we eat. And so we have
Temperance,
our
moderation.
yeah, it goes right back to temperance. You know, one of the things about our culture is that we wait until we're hungry before we eat. So if you're not hungry, you don't need to eat. And so if you're hungry till if it is still 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're hungry, that is when you're gonna put the pot on the fire. By the time that food cooking, you starve it. And when you sit down to eat, you ain't looking at portion no more. You just want to eat. You just want to devour the food. All right. So right. And so those are some of the things that contribute to it. If we have regular times for meal, right? When 12 o'clock is your lunch time and you're eating at lunchtime, you can focus on what you're eating. Not because you are not hungry, but you know that you need to nourish the body. All right? So you can eat and listen to your body when it is full. When you're hungry, you're not looking at your body and telling you anything about when it is full. All right?
Inside hungry.
So, all right, you just eat whatever is on the plate and whatever else is there. All right? So it goes back to
lifestyle, man.
Proper planning and regulating your life. Goes right back.
Okay, doctor. I know, for example, that that Acute can be used as a quote unquote herbal supplement in the management of diabetes.
Okay.
Acute. Yeah. How about herbs that can be used in the management of diabetes?
All right. The first thing I would say in response to that is that I prefer prevention better than cure. So don't wait to go and get diabetes and then you want to talk about, oh, this herb is good. And so, all right, so prevention, first of all. Secondly, I do believe that there are things, non-traditional medicine that is available for the treatment of diabetes. And again, it goes back to you being able to know what those are. It's going to go back to understanding how much of those things to use. All right. So those are the things that can come up. The other thing is, how do you manage any side effect that these herbal medication or treatment will have? How do you determine what side effects it have and how you manage those side effects? Right. So yes, there are herbal remedies that work. And I would encourage people if they prefer to use that. But then there's that caution as to how we manage things like side effects and things like that. That's my response. I don't know.
Okay, doctor, we have 2 minutes to go to 4:30. We'll facilitate one last question if there are any other questions. If not, we'll probably have one last question you want to get in.
No.
Comment?
I mean, I know for a fact that Acute contains a compound that lowers blood sugar.
Okay.
Yes, yes, it does. It does. Actually, that is one of the side effects of eating the ackee. It can cause very low blood sugar. It can send the blood sugar too low.
Right.
Yeah,
And so that is what the compound in it is a water soluble protein. So it is wise to prepare ackee in its own water, boil it in its own water, and drain that water off, and that water soluble compound would have been drained off in the water, and a cup of herbs tea also lower sugar.
So you drink the water that drain off the ackee?
No,
you
that
don't drink it. That can cause the blood sugar to go way low.
Oh.
yeah, that's dangerous because the water soluble protein that lowers the blood sugar is in that water, right? Herbs in quotation marks, and if you're Jamaican, you know what herbs is.
Yeah.
I told the guy he's a genius.
Yes.
Yeah, herb lowers blood sugar. So.
Well, Dr. Kuroko, would you like to give us your summary statements, please?
Wait a minute, Marcel.
Okay, go ahead, Elder Murphy. Go ahead. Sorry.
Where can I find some of that herbs?
Listen. This is being broadcast, and I don't want us to be called up for promoting all sorts of things. So we can put it in the chat. We put it in the chat. We can access some of those things.
Yeah.
Murphy?
All right, boss man.
Dr. Kuroko, your summary statements, please.
Yes. No, I would say that diabetes management it's a lifestyle disease. It's a lifestyle thing, and it goes back to what God intended for the lifestyle that God intended for us in the first place. God never intended for us to be overeating, overworking, getting big and fat and lazy. Right? When God placed Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he placed them there to dress and to keep the Garden of Eden. That means they had to work. And so we somebody put in the chat there where the herbs, man. Where the herbs. Right. Yeah. So we need to go back to where God in the lifestyle that God intended for us in the first place. And once we go back to that lifestyle, in Exodus 15:25, it says that God will not put on us the diseases of the Egyptians. All right? Diabetes is one of those. All right? It's one of the diseases of the Egyptians. God will not put on us those diseases of the Egyptians. But He will heal our land because He is the God that healeth us. So I trust that amidst all of that may be going on around us, amidst all that we might be at risk for, that we will seek to follow the dictates that God had initially intended for us. And in so doing, we will avoid a lot of these diseases that come upon us. All right?
Man.
Thank you very much, Dr. Croker. We really appreciate your presentation today. And it is now also available on YouTube. So we will put the link to that in the chat so that the men who weren't with us today would be able to have this information available to them. And gentlemen, please, my apologies for not promoting Desmond's presentation today. As you all know, I've been caught up in Boston with my mom's health, and just got back to Florida, so I've been just a bit out of it. So hopefully we should be able to get back on stream within the next few weeks. Desmond, thank you very much for, at such short notice, sharing such insightful information with us. And we are all the better off 2 hours later for having you shared such quality information. We would have to be paying thousands of dollars to get this sort of education. And we're humbled that you're so willing to serve us and share with us these insights. Will Perch.
Yes.
Elder Murphy, seeing that you asked about the herbs, can I ask you to pray for us, please? Because we need the Lord to pour His Holy Spirit to you.
That's perfect. Let's pray together, brethren. Father, we thank you for your love for us and providing so many resources and resourceful personnel in our group to assist us to live the way you'd like us to live and to conduct ourselves. Father, we thank you for what we heard this afternoon and for the presenter. We pray that you will bless us all, bless him and his family as well. We just want us to pause briefly just to lift up Marcel's mom, a mother in Israel who has been such a tower strength to all of us, that you will grant her healing and strength and help her to know that she's loved. Keep us now through the remainder of this Sabbath day, we pray, in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
And actually, it's interesting, Dr. Croker, because one of the things with my